The money you owe me. Why not repay it another way? What are you trying to do? It started when I sent my mom 800 yuan for an emergency, but my hand slipped, and I sent it to my demon boss instead. I even called her old baby, like I had a death wish. Just when I thought my career was over, my phone notified me of an 8,000 yuan transfer. Not only did the demon boss not fire me, she pinned me against the wall in a corner instead. Her cool, mature voice drifted lazily into my ear. What? Am I not your old baby? And this whole misunderstanding began because she and my mom used the same Lotus profile picture. The only difference between them was the caption on each image. One plainly read, "Calm as still water." The other read, "Smile at life." Staring at the payment on my screen, I was overwhelmed by mixed emotions. I had wondered why mom had suddenly become so generous. I asked for 800, and she sent 8,000 without hesitation. I thought she'd finally found her conscience. But, worse still, I had just been with my coworkers, ripping into the company's insane overtime policy, and the boss's penny-pinching ways, and the boss herself caught me red-handed. Han Xiaoyan said nothing. She only crooked a finger at me, then turned toward the break room. I forced myself to follow. What? Weren't you quite the smooth talker earlier? Why have you gone mute now? That cool voice, laced with lazy amusement, exploded beside my ear. My pathetic face flushed red. We were far too close. My brain instantly short-circuited. I couldn't think at all. Want to try it? Try what? Find out whether your old baby is really old or not. I said nothing. The moment I spotted an opening, I slipped under her arm like an eel and ran for it, slumped at my desk. I was still trembling with fear. I could only think about how to return that scalding hot 8,000 yuan, but I had already given 800 yuan as a cash gift, spent 2,000 on game gear, and ordered the tablet I'd wanted for ages. Not a cent was left. Just as I was fretting, my co-worker Li Kang's voice rang out beside me. Well, Jiang Chi, I hear you got a bonus. Shouldn't you treat everyone to a meal? I shot him an irritated side-eye. This guy either bullied newcomers or sucked up to management. Whenever someone got a bonus, he pressured them to treat everyone. Because he had connections with management, everyone resented him, but kept quiet. But I wasn't going to indulge him. I fired back. It's my money. Why should I buy you dinner? Still grinning shamelessly, he said. Don't people usually treat everyone when they get a bonus? HMPH. I earn that bonus. I'll treat coworkers if I want to. But you're never included. When have you ever not mooched off others? Then you complain the place isn't fancy enough. Who have you ever treated? If someone ate one piece of your candy, you'd make a scene all day. His face instantly turned bright red. It's not like I got a bonus. If I did get one, I'd definitely take you all to the best hotel. You. Built like a squash, with mush for brains. All you've got is that big mouth, stealing credit for other people's work. You're a tight-fisted cheapskate, no skill, yet you still want a bonus? You. I nervously made it through until quitting time. I was extra careful all afternoon, terrified I'd run into Han Xiaoyan in the hall, break room, or around any corner. The company was barely bigger than a showbox. The place was so small, we were bound to cross paths. I hid like a fugitive until I was completely drained. When the clock on my phone hit 6, I grabbed my backpack and slung it over my shoulder. The second I rose from my chair, a hand gently pressed down on my shoulder. Ms. Han wants to see you in her office. It was Chen Feng, Han Xiaoyan's assistant. My heart sank on the spot. This woman really wasn't going to let me off the hook. My backpack thudded back onto the chair. With a resigned sigh, I stood outside Han Xiaoyan's office, pacing and hesitating for ages. My stomach was in knots. I just couldn't bring myself to push the door open. Just imagining the awkward scene ahead made my scalp tingle. Are you coming in or not? Her cool voice came through the door, like a stone striking my taut nerves. Planning to stand guard outside my door? My whole body went rigid. I gritted my teeth and pushed the door open. There was none of the interrogation or mockery I'd expected. Not even that faintly amused look in her eyes. None of it. Han Xiaoyan did not even look up. Her eyes remained on the documents in her hands. Screen light cast her profile in a distant glow. Recheck this section of data. It took me 2 seconds to realize She was assigning me work. Okay. For the entire 20 minutes. She did not look at me once. I thought to myself, how could she act as if nothing had happened? So calm and unbothered. I thought she liked me. Even just a tiny, tiny bit. At least, I thought she was interested in me. Otherwise, why would she transfer me money when she knew I mistaken her for someone else? And say all those suggestive, heart-tracing things that made me blush. I secretly glanced at her beautifully sculpted profile, silently grumbling. No wonder I kept seeing her secretaries come and go. They were all handsome young men. HMPH. A total player. Did you understand what I just said? I heard you. A total player. The air instantly froze. I clapped a hand over my mouth. Oh no. How did I say that out loud? Han Xiaoyan leaned back slightly, folding her arms. Her dark eyes were unfathomable. What I meant was, my brain raced wildly. My survival instinct hitting its peak. Ms. Han, you have the exact aura of the ultimate heartbreaker people talk about online. One of her brows twitched almost imperceptibly. I went all in, words tumbling out at lightning speed. The kind of woman who's gorgeous and rich, brilliant and emotionally intelligent, with gorgeous defined abs, polished in public and skilled in the kitchen, other than not loving me. You're perfect in every way. After saying that, I nodded emphatically, trying to move her with my sincere gaze. The tense atmosphere suddenly eased. Heh. Define ABS? You've seen them? The tips of my ears burned. She usually wore sharply tailored business clothes, concealing every inch of her figure. But one night, when we worked late, she took off her suit jacket, leaving only a silk blouse. When she stood to pour coffee, the curve of her waist was toned and full of strength. I haven't seen them in person, I admitted honestly, then added quietly, unwilling to concede. But when you wear shirts in the summer, your arms clearly show that you work out. Before I could finish, a shadow fell over me. Somehow, Han Xiaoyan had come right up to me. She leaned in slightly, her fingers scented with a faint, cool fragrance, and gently brushed the corner of my lips. What was she going to do? She straightened, then leisurely took out a tissue and wiped her fingertips. You were drooling. The air froze for a moment. I could hear my heart pounding like a drum. She leaned casually against the edge of her desk and flicked the crumpled tissue into the trash with her fingertips. You're quite observant. What else? My mind went completely blank. What else? My define ABS. Haven't you been analyzing them over and over in your head? Tell me your conclusion. Being seen through so completely left me embarrassed and irritated. My conclusion is, Ms. Han is not only amazing at running a company, she's even better at managing her own figure. She paused slightly, as though she hadn't expected me to strike back like that. Then a real smile spread into her eyes. It wasn't teasing, but a bright look that was almost appreciative. Work is over. Let's go. She picked up her car keys. Her voice returned to its usual cool calm, though it held a barely perceptible softness now. I'll drop you off on the way. Still dazed, I followed her downstairs. Without hesitation, I climbed into the passenger seat of her sleek luxury car. The car was filled with her distinctive, cool scent. I secretly watched her profile as she focused on driving. Neon lights flowed past outside the window, gliding over her elegant jawline. The lingering frustration and embarrassment in my chest strangely blended into a sweet, unreal feeling. The entire drive, her phone never stopped ringing. From the passenger seat, I silently counted. That was the 6th call. She really was incredibly busy. A female chief executive's daily life meant driving a luxury car, while remotely steering deals worth hundreds of millions of yuan. I know, Mom. I'm working on it. I'll definitely bring someone home for Lunar New Year. Han Xiaoyan spoke into her Bluetooth earpiece. Her tone was unusually patient, even gently coaxing. Okay. If I don't bring someone home, I'll do as you say. And go on blind dates like a good girl. Happy now. MMHMM. We're almost there. Talk later. After she hung up, the car suddenly fell silent. I secretly glanced at her. Even a female boss worth over 100 million yuan gets pressured to marry. She gave a soft, mocking laugh. Her hand rested on the steering wheel. The passing light swept across her profile. I'm nearly 30. To my mom, that makes me unwanted inventory. When I was in school, She guarded against teenage romance like it was a crime. The moment I graduated, she wanted to package me up and marry me off. She paused. I went on a blind date once before. I found him pretty appealing. But he said I was too domineering. Forget it. What? Does that guy have some misunderstanding about what excellence means? Boss, with everything you have going for you, turning you down was his loss. Han Xiaoyan smiled. The corners of her eyes curved gently. What about you? Does your family pressure you? Me. I've only been out of school for a year. I'm in the prime of my youth, okay? Besides, do I look like some old guy desperate for blind dates? She actually turned to look at me, studying me seriously for 2 seconds. Her gaze made the hairs rise on my back. Not like an old guy. More like a college student who hasn't figured out love yet. I fell silent. So, do you have a girlfriend? No. Then, do you want one? Boss, does the company assign romantic partners to? She didn't answer. Instead, the car slowly pulled over. We were outside my building. I was about to unfasten my seatbelt when she suddenly leaned toward me. Her crisp fragrance washed over me, like cedar wood with a hint of citrus. It was faint, yet instantly stole my breath. I froze, afraid to move. She stopped inches away. Her eyes shone startlingly bright in the dim light. What I meant to say was, knock, knock, knock. Someone knocked on the window. A familiar face pressed against the glass. My mom stood with her hands behind her back, staring expressionlessly into the car. Han Xiaoyan rolled down the window. Hello, ma'am. She smiled, polite and composed. My mom narrowed her eyes at her, then looked at me stiff as a statue. Oh, you brought him home? Mom's voice was perfectly flat. Come upstairs for a while. At Mom's words, the tips of Han Xiaoyan's ears turned faintly red in the dim light inside the car. Her fingers curled slightly around the steering wheel. She sat up straight, her tone gentle, though unusually nervous. You're too kind, ma'am. I still have something to handle at the office today. I'll come visit you properly another day. I could feel Han Xiaoyan's foot lightly tap the accelerator. The car didn't move, but the engine gave a low hum, like a restrained sigh. My mom was silent for 2 seconds. Then tell me before you come next time. I'll make you some soup. Han Xiaoyan visibly paused, then offered a perfectly measured smile. I will. Thank you, ma'am. I watched her car drive away, then slowly let out a sigh. When I got home, Mom and Dad sat on the couch, their faces grave. Mom got straight to the point. Who was that girl? I changed my shoes, trying to sound casual. My boss was passing by and gave me a ride home. Your boss? What boss gets that close to an employee? Their faces almost touching, close enough to feel each other's breath. It wasn't like that. She was only helping me unfasten my seatbelt. It was stuck. You need to get that close to unfasten a seatbelt. Come on. It was all a misunderstanding. No matter what I said, Mom refused to believe Han Xiaoyan and I had a strictly professional relationship. She was dead set on one thing. Han Xiaoyan was definitely my girlfriend. Otherwise, why would I refuse to meet the daughter of Dad's old comrade, a fair-skinned beauty, from an immensely wealthy family? Not even once? I'm still so young. Why do you keep pushing me to go on blind dates? Start dating now. Then get married and have children in 2 or 3 years. By 30, you'll be settled in life. The timing is perfect. I really don't want to go on blind dates. Love should happen naturally. You can't force it. It isn't really that we're in a hurry. It's mainly all the cash gifts we've given at family celebrations over the years. We're counting on getting it back when you get married. Some relatives, we give gifts when their sons marry. Then again, when their grandsons turn 1 month old. It was like one celebration after another. A few old friends have already passed away. We'll never get that money back now. I was speechless. I didn't know how to respond. Either seriously date that girl from earlier and settle down soon, or go on a blind date with Uncle Han's daughter. As he spoke, he pulled a small notebook from beneath the coffee table. He opened it. Its pages were crammed with records of gifts exchanged. That night, I lay in bed, unable to shake my frustration. I really didn't have a girlfriend. This problem had bothered me for a long time. I couldn't even focus at work. I couldn't concentrate at all. I secretly hid in the office restroom to ponder my life. Sitting on the closed toilet lid, I lit a cigarette. As smoke curled around me, my thoughts ran wild. I was only in my early 20s, but Dad was already in his 60s. This should have been the time for him to dote on his grandchildren, to enjoy a peaceful retirement, surrounded by children and grandchildren. Yet I still talk back to him sometimes, acting like an immature, thoughtless child. Who's smoking in there? That was Han Xiaoyan's voice. I'm done for. Completely done for. Before joining the company, everyone had to complete a week of orientation training. The employee handbook clearly stated that smoking was forbidden anywhere on company property. Though the rules prohibited smoking, plenty of people secretly did it anyway. But being caught red-handed by Han Xiaoyan, I was probably the first person in history. I held my breath and stayed perfectly still. Time seemed to stop. Each second crawled by. Come out. She uttered those two words coldly. My heart bled. Getting caught smoking once meant a 500 yuan fine. The second time cost 1,000 yuan. 500 yuan was a fortune. That was my hard-earned money. With the resolve of a man walking to his execution, I yanked the door open. Hello, Ms. Han. Fancy seeing you here. Not really. You're the only one on this floor who uses this cheap tobacco to smoke out cockroaches. I froze. She even knew exactly what brand I smoked. Article 32 of the Employee Handbook. Smoking is prohibited anywhere on company property. Violators will be fined 500 yuan. Ms. Han, I swear to God, I just came in here to think about life. The smoke smell was left by the last guy. Right, residual odor. She drew out the last words. Then she suddenly stepped closer. I instinctively backed away. My back slammed into the cold stall door with a thud. She didn't come any closer. She merely bent down slightly and took a soft sniff, not of the air, but of my collar. Every hair on my body stood on end. Thinking about life. Thinking so hard you scattered ash all over your shirt. The evidence was undeniable. I give up. I'll pay the fine. The fine comes straight out of the huge debt you owe me. 8,000 minus 500. You still owe me 7,500 yuan. Heh, Ms. Han. That isn't a debt. It was an accidental payment. I'll repay you right away. Immediately. This very second. Oh. Then transfer it. Damn it. I hadn't been paid yet. My pockets were completely empty. Looks like you can't repay it. Then how about another way to pay me back? What way? She said nothing, her gaze simply settling on my face. My mother's birthday is next month. I need a temporary boyfriend to keep up appearances. In return, I'll erase your entire debt. Plus a bonus if you perform well. I stared at her, dumbfounded. Pretend to be your boyfriend. To fend off my family's pressure to marry. You look decent enough. And sometimes your brain actually works. Most importantly, you seem pretty scared of me. You probably won't dare blow our cover. Why me? Because you're the only one who dared call me an old babe and is still standing in front of me alive. Besides, that day in the car, when you said it was his loss for rejecting me, your eyes were sincere. I was speechless. So, was it because I blurted out that defense of her that made her choose me? You have 3 days to think it over. Give me your answer in 3 days. Oh, and the smoking fine still stands. Those are separate matters. The door closed softly. I stood alone in the utility room, filled with a faint smell of disinfectant. My heart was still pounding. Should I agree to her offer? When I got home, the atmosphere had changed. Mom and Dad no longer bantered and bickered with me like before. Instead, there was a silent gaze tinged with sorrow. They didn't say a word. They just sat at opposite ends of the couch, taking turns looking at me with almost mournful eyes. Their stares made my skin crawl. I didn't dare eat sunflower seeds. I didn't dare play games. I even walked on tiptoe without thinking, afraid of breaking that heavy silence. Meal times were even more agonizing. I kept my head down and shoveled food into my mouth, too afraid to look up. Yet I could always feel 2 pairs of eyes weighing heavily on me. After 2 days that felt like years, my mental defenses completely collapsed. I put down my chopsticks. Mom, Dad. The girl you saw that day is my girlfriend. The moment I said it, Dad's one-stole eyes instantly lit up. His wrinkles smoothed out, and the corners of his mouth lifted. His whole wrinkled face bloomed into a radiant smile. I'm happy today. Honey, go cook 2 more dishes. My son and I will have a drink. Just one drink. Really? Just this once. I'm just too happy. Just a small glass. Dad wasn't in good health. His doctor had strictly forbidden him from drinking. But today, he solemnly poured himself a small glass of liquor. He carefully took a sip, as if tasting divine nectar. Before long, his cheeks flushed red. A little later, even the rims of his eyes turned red. I froze. All my life, I'd never seen my father cry. Dad, don't be like this. I've got a girlfriend now. You should be happy. Why are you still? Jiang Chi. My son, you must be happy in the future. You must take good care of yourself. I don't know if I'll get to see you start a family or build a career of your own. You and your mother are the treasures I hold in my hands. I really can't bear to. I can't bear to leave you. My whole body stiffened. I whirled toward Mom, my voice trembling uncontrollably. Mom, tell me the truth. Is there something wrong with Dad's medical report? Mom's hand stopped as she wiped the table with a rag. She went rigid, remaining still for a long moment. Then she suddenly covered her face with both hands, her shoulders trembling softly. My heart sank hard, as if I'd fallen into an ice pit. It's nothing. Your dad is fine. He's just getting older, and tends to overthink things. But her evasive eyes, the red rims around them, and that pitifully transparent act, were like a cold hammer, shattering my last shred of hope. The room was terrifyingly quiet. Only Dad's stifled breaths remained. And as Mom turned toward the kitchen, the faint yet distinct sound of a tear striking the floor, my heart instantly plunged into an icy abyss. I went cold to the core. The next day, I sat at my desk like a walking corpse. The sound of my co-workers talking around me reached my ears, but it was all indistinct. Like a silent film, I could see their lips moving, but couldn't make out a single word. Their figures swayed before my eyes, overlapping one another, drifting near, then far, blurred beyond recognition. I felt like a lone boat adrift at sea. Towering waves came crashing toward me. Before that endless surf, I was as insignificant as an ant, utterly helpless. It felt as if a hand were clamped around my throat, leaving me barely able to breathe. Then everything went black, and I lost consciousness. When I woke, I found myself in an unfamiliar room. I forced my eyes open, and saw a high ceiling. I tried to sit up, but something held my hand in place. When I looked to the side, I saw Han Xiaoyan. She was asleep beside the bed, both hands tightly wrapped around mine. I tried to pull away, putting in a little force, but couldn't move at all. Her grip was just firm enough that I couldn't break free, but not enough to hurt. Just as I decided to let it go, she woke up. Her gentle voice sounded beside me. Are you hungry? I'll heat up some porridge. The porridge is already cooked. I was worried you'd be hungry when you woke up. Just give me 2 minutes. I barely opened my mouth when I felt a dry, burning itch in my throat. My voice was hoarse, like sandpaper had scraped it raw. Han Xiaoyan came over and handed me a cup of warm water with a straw in it. I paused. Low blood sugar, combined with a brief fainting spell caused by extreme stress. The doctor said that since the day before yesterday, you've barely eaten anything. I stared at her blankly. My memories slowly returned like a rising tide. The office, my co-workers' blurred faces, the suffocating panic. Then darkness fell. About your father. Your mother told me. My entire body went rigid. She didn't look at me. She turned and took a document envelope from her bag. This is the contact information for a specialist at Longcheng Hospital, along with a preliminary assessment of your father's medical records. He used to be my grandfather's attending physician. He's out of town, but he can consult remotely. I abruptly sat up. My vision darkened. My trembling hands opened the envelope. Why? Yesterday, you fainted at work. I called your mother, and that's when I learned about your father. I lowered my head, my fingers clutching the papers tightly. They made a faint rustling sound. Jiang Chi, the company is giving you paid leave. There's no time limit until your father's condition stabilizes. My eyes burned. I clenched my teeth, fighting back the tears that threatened to spill. As for those 8,000 yuan, you don't need to pay it back. Consider it an advance on your salary. When a small boat can't weather the storm, it can come ashore. At least, you can think of me as a harbor. I sat on the bed, clutching the medical records in my hands, then suddenly buried my face deep in my palms. Outside the window, the city's lights came on one by one. At midnight, I jolted awake from a chaotic dream. There was light in the living room. Han Xiaoyan sat on the carpet before the floor-to-ceiling windows. Her laptop cast a cold glow. Several documents lay scattered beside her. She was gently rubbing the spot between her brows. Perhaps she sensed me come out. Did you have a nightmare? Did I wake you? I was working late anyway. Come here. As if drawn by some unseen force, I sat beside her on the carpet. The city's nightscape stretched out below us. Starlight and city lights joined into a soft river. The year my grandfather was diagnosed with late-stage liver cancer. I was 26. Back then, I thought, that was what the sky sounded like when it fell. Later, he passed away. Only then did I understand. When towering waves come crashing in, any piece of driftwood you can grab is nothing to be ashamed of. The night breeze slipped through the half-open window, blowing the ends of her hair against my hand. I caught the faint scent of white tea on her. In the morning, the smell of fried eggs woke me. In the kitchen, Han Xiaoyan wore an apron, awkwardly spreading peanut butter over toast. Morning light gilded her lashes. The lines of her profile looked unusually soft. This is all there was in the fridge. She handed me a plate. The brown fried egg had slightly scorched edges. Make do with it. I took a bite. There was too much sugar, and the peanut butter was spread unevenly. Yet it was the best breakfast I'd ever had. I noticed jam on her fingertips, so I instinctively pulled out a tissue and handed it to her. The consultation is scheduled for Wednesday afternoon. I'll go with you. Stay at my place for the next few days. It'll be easier to take care of you. Ms. Han. Actually, Jiang Chi. Accepting help isn't weakness. I looked into her eyes. They held the soft glow of the 8 o'clock morning sun, and something deeper. Something that made my heart race. 3 days later, at the hospital, I leaned against the wall at the end of the hospital corridor. My phone screen was lit. Han Xiaoyan's chat was at the top. Her last message had come half an hour ago. I'll wait for you in Garage C. The sound-activated stairwell lights came on one by one. I walked down step by step, yet it felt as though I were running towards somewhere. Bright and warm. Her hazard lights blinked, like the only lighthouse on a dark sea. When I opened the car door, warm air, carrying her scent, rushed over me. The specialist said, your father's condition isn't as bad as we feared. I whipped my head around. She kept her eyes ahead, but the corner of her mouth lifted slightly. The new treatment has a high response rate. I called in a favor to secure him a spot in the first treatment round. Tears rolled down my face without warning. I hurriedly lowered my head, but heard her sigh. She gently placed a box of tissues on my lap. Her voice was soft. Jiang Chi. This time, you can hold my hand. Slowly, so slowly, I reached out. The moment our fingertips touched, she gently turned her hand over and laced her fingers through mine. The car moved slowly through silent streets, eventually stopping at a riverside lookout. We stood there, looking into the distance. At this late hour, the place was deserted. Only streetlights cast flecks of gold across the water. She didn't let go of my hand. Instead, she gently tightened her fingers around mine. Ms. Han. My voice sounded quiet in the stillness. Call me Xiaoyan. At least here. The river breeze stirred the loose strands by her cheek. I noticed she wore very light lipstick today. It was a soft rosewood shade. Why have you helped me so much? I'd held that question inside for days. Was it just because of that text sent to the wrong person? She gave a soft laugh. It drifted into the night. I've had my eye on you since the day you interviewed. You wore a suit that didn't fit, and your resume was all crumpled. But your eyes lit up when you talked about your proposal. I froze. That had been over a year ago. Later, I noticed you secretly ate teddy bear biscuits when you worked late. When you were criticized, you'd hide in the stairwell and take 3 deep breaths. When you saw stray cats, you'd buy them canned food. Jiang Chi. You're so easy to read. Her blunt honesty made my ears burn. So you pity me. I envy you. I envy that you can still fall apart over your father. I envy that you can act spoiled when your mother calls. I even envy that you dare send funny memes in the company group chat. She paused, as if choosing her words. My world is too proper. So proper that even tears need an appointment. That message was the most vivid thing I'd received in 6 months. Before I could react, she turned toward me. Her white tea-scented breath brushed the corner of my lips. Then her lips gently touched my cheek. It was a restrained, tender kiss. You can push me away. Her voice was inches away, carrying an unfamiliar tension. But my hand rose of its own accord, lightly brushing her loose hair. Her lashes trembled, casting small shadows beneath her eyes. Han Xiaoyan, is this you taking advantage of your position? She froze for a moment, then let out a low laugh, resting her forehead against my shoulder. That depends on whether you'd let me take advantage of you. By the time we reached her home, the horizon had turned a bluish gray. She caught me in the entryway. Guest room or master bedroom? The question came so suddenly that I was speechless. The choice is yours. She let go of my hand. But my suggestion is, she pushed open the master bedroom door, then looked back at me. Morning light formed a warm halo behind her. You can watch the sunrise from here. I followed her into the room. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city was waking up. The first rays of sun shattered across the river. She gently wrapped her arms around me from behind. Jiang Chi. Her voice was hoarse from a sleepless night. You don't have to answer me now. I turned around and found her lips in the morning light. This time, I didn't hesitate. No testing the waters. I leaned in and kissed her softly. When the sun rose fully above the river, we sat before the floor-to-ceiling windows. I'll go to the capital with you on Wednesday. I've already arranged to work remotely. What about the company? She raised her head, her eyes dazzlingly bright. I call the shots at the company. And now, I call the shots with you too. At last, the day of my father's surgery arrived. After 10 hours of waiting, my mother finally gave out and fell asleep against my shoulder. Han Xiaoyan quietly came over and pressed a warm cup of soy milk into my hands. My father was wheeled out of the operating room. The anesthesia had not fully worn off. He opened his eyes slightly. His gaze passed over my mother's tear-swollen face. Before settling on Han Xiaoyan and me, he blinked slowly, a weak smile tugging at his lips. Amid the monitor's steady beeping, Han Xiaoyan leaned down and whispered in his ear, Uncle, that new bottle of Ma Otai is waiting for you. My father's index finger twitched gently. It was the signal we'd agreed on long ago. It meant, deal. A light rain fell the day he was discharged. Han Xiaoyan held the umbrella, while I steadied my father. Xiaoyan, you've had a hard time these past few weeks. It's what I should do. My father shook his head. He took a faded red cloth pouch from inside his jacket and tucked it into her palm. Jiang Chi's grandmother left this behind for her grandson's wife. Inside was an old-fashioned gold ring. Its pattern had faded away. Han Xiaoyan clutched the pouch tightly. Rainwater ran down the umbrella's ribs, mingling with the faint redness in her eyes. Uncle, this? I stepped forward and took her cold hand in the drizzle. What my dad means is, will you accept it? She lifted her tear-filled eyes and looked at me for a long, long time. Then she nodded softly, slipping the ring onto her ring finger. It fit perfectly. At last, Han Xiaoyan's mother's birthday arrived. I wasn't her contract boyfriend anymore. I was there as her real boyfriend. I stood outside her family's villa and saw a woman in a floral apron, squatting by the vegetable patch picking eggplants. Mom. Han Xiaoyan sounded unusually nervous. She looked up. Her features bore a striking resemblance to Han Xiaoyan's. Her face was full of warmth. Jiang. She brushed the dirt from her hands and came over. She took my hand as naturally as if we'd always known each other. Your hands are so cold. Are you nervous? She was nothing like the refined, wealthy matron I'd imagined. Hello, Auntie. Just call me Annie. Come in, quick. Your uncle is in the kitchen chopping ribs. He insists on making sweet and sour ribs himself. Where's my maotai? When I entered the villa's living room, I froze. On the wall at the center of the room hung a yellowed black and white photograph. Two young men in old military uniforms stood arm in arm before a tank. They were grinning from ear to ear. The one on the left, with thick brows and bright eyes, was unmistakably my father in his youth. Jiang Chi. A booming male voice sounded behind me. I spun around. Han Xiaoyan's father, Han Jianguo, stood in the entryway with his hands behind his back. His close-cropped hair was streaked with gray, and he stood straight as a pine. Hello, Uncle. Call me Uncle Han. You're the spitting image of Haitian when he was young. Dad, your father is recovering well, right? I knew he was sick, but I had no idea it was this serious. That girl Yan didn't breathe a word to me. Only then did I learn that our fathers had been comrades in arms. The wonderful blind date my father had strongly recommended had been Han Xiaoyan all along. After my mom saw Han Xiaoyan outside the car that day, she went with the flow and put on a little act. I gave Han Xiaoyan a puzzled look. Han Xiaoyan raised an eyebrow, her eyes glittering playfully. Art comes from life, after all. Sweetheart, the table was already covered with home-cooked dishes. Do you drink? A little. Good. It's from 1998. I've saved it for over 20 years, waiting for this day. After 3 drinks, Uncle Han truly opened up. Yan has always been strong-willed. Eat more. When a boy bullied her in middle school, she chased him for 3 blocks with a stool in hand. Dad, all right. I won't talk about that. Later, when she started her company, I heard her crying in her room in the middle of the night. The next day, she met clients again with swollen eyes. Jiang, our Yan may seem tough, but she cares deeply about the people she loves. I know, Uncle. This is the first time she's brought someone home. All these years, she's been so tired. Thank you for raising Xiaoyan so well. This kid. He's sincere. After dinner, Uncle Han pulled me into a game of Chinese chess. After losing 3 straight games, he grumbled that young people had no respect for their elders. Han Xiaoyan helped her mother wash dishes in the kitchen. Through the glass door, I saw her mother lean close and whisper something in her ear. She turned to look at me, her eyes curving into crescents. Late that night, I left the entryway light on for Han Xiaoyan as she returned home late. She came inside carrying the night's chill, then slipped both hands down the collar of my pajamas. She smiled triumphantly. Childish. I held her hands to warm them. Jiang Chi. It's snowing. Fine snow fell silently outside the window, covering the road that brought us here. If I hadn't used that Lotus avatar that day, I would have found another way to reach you. The moon would have shown me the way. The wind would have carried me to you. My heartbeat would have given away the secret. I turned to look at her. We were destined to meet. We just happened to begin in the most unexpected way. As she smiled, a tear fell into my palm, warm and sweet, like melting first snow. Jiang Chi. In our next life, let me find you first. No need to wait for another life. We haven't loved enough in this one.